Jerusalem is one of the most important cities in the history of humankind, but even with that, much of the Western world does not know much about it beyond the occasional headline, which is why the comic, The History of Jerusalem, can play such a vital service. Obviously, with this subject matter, you will have people at the ready to claim bias or to indicate that the facts presented are false for the purpose of propaganda, but I think this looks to tell the story as is, even calling out situations where there's differing opinion regarding what the facts truly are, and if you want to challenge what is presented, plenty of sources are provided. Now, complete objectivity is impossible, but I think this does look to get to the root causes of what has happened in the city over the last few thousand years. Fittingly, that is done by having the story told through the perspective of a tree as it goes through what has occurred and seen over the last few thousand years. Now, another risk with a comic like this is having a book that is dull and boring and reads like an info dump documentary that your teacher would use in history class when they didn't feel like teaching that day. But instead, it reads like a well-designed museum with a well-informed guide that knows how to tell a story and fill in the details that you may have otherwise missed. Christophe Gaudier is the artist here and has quite the task to complete. These pages are filled with information, but the page design does wonders keeping it all organized while keeping the story moving forward. I would call his design a bit bare bones that focuses on the key details, which is exactly what you need. A lot is gleaned from body language and the recreation of all these time periods, which is not something that is easy to do. Fundamentals may not be flashy, but when done right, they have a massive impact, and this is a case of exactly that happening. We live in a world where context is more important than ever because when an event or issue occurs, very rarely is it provided, especially when someone only wants to convey their side. Now, the history of Jerusalem is not going to make you an expert on the Middle East, but it will provide some context that is often not provided in our media today, along with many of our educational systems. Now, this is not just textbook and comic book form. There's artistry and craft here as well, as it gets to how these events occurred and how we're still connected to them many eons later. So even if you're not a fan of history or don't yearn for more historical comics, there is something to be gained.